Hey, my name is Justice. This is day 28 of Healing Out Loud. I am documenting my depression so my kids don't have to lose their mom the way I lost mine. This is a continuation of what we talked about yesterday. Yesterday, I talked about how I started developing a habit of learning that a drink would take the edge off. So now, at this point, I'm going to my friend Dee's house. And remember, this is a girl, y'all. Dee's house like every other day. Like I said, she lived on the other side of Kingwood. So sometimes I would do this even on the weeknight and spend the night and go to school from her house the next morning. And like I said, my mom at this point was dealing with depression. So a lot of the time she wouldn't even notice I was not there. I would sneak out my bedroom window, and we lived on the first floor. So sneaking out was pretty easy. I would leave my TV on low so it sounded like I was still there. I even would form like the pillows under the bedroom cover just in case she did open the door. I would take the screen off of my window. I would slowly open the window, step out, and put the screen back on. Close the window just enough where it didn't look open, but I could still get back in. So this particular night, I did just that. But when I stepped out, as soon as I closed that window down, I looked up. My neighbor right across the way is sitting there on the porch smoking a cigarette. Actually, he was smoking a cigar, I remember. At first, I was really nervous because he knew my mom. So let me give y'all a background on this dude. He didn't live there. It was like a home for people with special needs. I would say that I know it was two men that stayed there, and they had like a high level of, I would call autism, but I don't know their diagnosis. I'm just trying to explain the environment so y'all could better understand. And the workers who worked there, they rotated shifts around the clock, and he would come in on the evenings for the most part. Also, ironically, he's a distant relative of mine. I never knew him growing up. He was like never at any family reunions that I could remember, and he was never around me. The only reason I knew this was because one day my mom greeted him and was happy to see him, and his sister was there, I guess bringing him lunch or something. And they were talking, and she explained how they're related to us. They're actually related to a close cousin of mine in my family. He's actually the brother of a close cousin of mine. They have, I believe, different moms. Anyway, so when I first seen him leaving out the window, I was really nervous. But after talking to him, he didn't seem like a threat. So I kind of just laughed it off. He asked me where I was going. And I told him I was going to my friend's house. We was going to drink and whatever. And he told me, you don't have to go all the way over there. I got some. He was like, I got some Hennessy in the house. You like Hennessy? Now, real alcohol, I didn't get that. Like I said, her mama would have beers and stuff like that. So I was kind of excited, being honest. And he told me to come in and he'll pour me a cup. So I went in and he poured me a drink, and then we started drinking. Then he wanted to play like some type of shot game where, we're drinking a lot. After a while, I looked down and my cup is almost gone, and I was really tipsy. Y'all, and y'all have to remember, I'm very young. I don't think I'm yet 14 years old. Because I never really had like hard liquor like that, drinking it heavily, I just wasn't, I was very, very drunk. He started to take his clothes off, and he started taking off mine. And he locked the people with the disability in the room, and I could literally hear them banging on the door, and they were like yelling and making a lot of noises. And I remember he just laid me down on the couch and he essayed me. Now, that's the part that stayed with me for the longest, really the confusion, because I didn't say nothing. I never told him to stop. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. And for years, I really honestly questioned myself, like, was I really even essayed? But the truth is, I was very afraid and I didn't want to do it. I realized I struggled with that for many years. And after that, I realized whenever I was in uncomfortable situations, I had a hard time speaking up. I would always just allow anything to happen. I remember after everything, he patted my head or something. He did something. It was so condescending. And at that moment, I can't even explain. I just felt so disgusted and dirty, y'all. I remember sneaking back in my room and I still wanted to go to my friend's house, but I was so broken. I didn't want to make it obvious, that I left the house, so I didn't want to run any bathwater. I remember I went in my closet that night with the lights off and I just balled up and cried, y'all. But I really wanted to tell my mom so bad, y'all. I really needed her this night. Probably more out of any night ever in life or anything I ever went through. I needed her the most this night. I wanted to go in there and find a reason just to hug her or do something. I needed some type of emotion. I really needed her to tell me it was going to be all right. But I couldn't because I was never supposed to be sneaking outside. I had never felt that disgusted in my life, and that moment stayed with me for years. Not just what happened, but the confusion of living with it after the fact. And I want to say this clearly, just for anybody who's ever went through anything similar. Just because I didn't say no doesn't mean that I wanted it. Just because I didn't fight doesn't mean it wasn't wrong. Fear can silence you, and freezing is real. I'm not ready to talk about my first time that I had experience like this because I was very young. It was a very young, tender age, and it's still hard. But when I'm ready, I will. But this is just part of my story. We made it to day 28.